G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. So I thought I'd do another one of these just raw talking footy types of videos. I did do it, a raw reaction after the Swans grand final, back when we got pummeled by 60 points against the Lions. And now we have found out today that in the end, that game from 2 months ago was John Longmire's very last as the Sydney Swans head coach. Given I am a Swan supporter, thought I'd also make this video just to give my 2 cents on my reaction and what's next. Dean Cox, obviously, part of the succession plan. Really excited to see how he'll fare, but it's a big day. It's a historic day for the Sydney Swans Football Club. This man has led the Swans for 14 years. I think it was his 14th season, or heading into his 14th or 15th season. He joined, obviously, he became the head coach in 2011, but he's been in the club since the early 2000s as part of developmental roles, sitting behind, of course, Paul Roos, and then, getting the baton from Paul Roos about, 13 years ago or so now. Premiership coach, and now we focus a bit more on his legacy, given he has now decided to step down as head coach. It was sort of amusing actually this morning. About at 9 in the morning, I saw on the Swans group chat somebody put down a DM saying, "Oh, there's rumours that Horse is going to announce the Players' Day. He's going to stand down as head coach." I'm like, oh, it's just those crappy DM stuff you see on meme pages and all that whatnot. It's probably fake, but apparently it was part of the Triple M rumour mill or something, and they've been pretty good with their strike rate, so I'm like, I'll just consider it. It's probably more BS. But then about 15 minutes later, I see all over Twitter and Instagram, I think Tom Morris reported that he is actually stepping down. I'm like, wow. Honestly, I was just speechless. I couldn't believe it, because I was I was expecting this day to eventually come, but the timing very awkward, very odd. Literally the second day of pre-season, the first to fourth year players for the Swans did join back yesterday. And the timing just feels a little bit weird. We're right back into the thick of it now, and he's just decided to hang him up. Probably Peter Ludham's just dropped the mark or missed an absolute sit in front of goals, and he thought, nah, I'm done. Nah, I'm only joking. But what a man he's been. I just always reflect upon Horse as a great people's man, a great player manager, a coach that just has terrific relationship with players. And yes, there is definitely negative sides you can reflect upon with the grand final success being 1-4, but there's a lot more to that. And given he is the coach up in a northern club, it's a lot more about player retention and building your club's culture. And I just think it's a little bit more than just flags, and what he's been able to do over the past decade has just been outstanding as a Swans head coach. And very, very grateful. I mean, the strike rate is outstanding. 1 in 3 years the Swans have made a grand final. Every year, apart from 2 seasons, whilst we had a very young side, we made finals football. And I'm just, sport rotten, to be honest, seeing my team play finals footy basically every single year. And also just his ability to set such a high standard with the playing group and off-the-field administration, he was key to that. And he is obviously still going to be staying at the club. It's not like he's leaving. He's a part of more of an off-field developmental role. It's like a football project manager or something like that. I don't know the exact words. But no, he's definitely going to still be hanging around the club and pointing the finger and directing a few particular things. It's handy that he will still be at the club, because he's a man that's proven over the past decade or so that's shown really good stability at the Swans. So at least still having him on board gives me a little bit more confidence of team success heading into at least next year with Dean Cox taking over. So very glad he's still going to be staying at the club in an off-field role. But it's just been a little bit evident, and no matter how good a coach is, all good things must come to an end. The grand final defeats, only one man can take so much grand final thumpings. It's been 4 now pretty much. And in 2022, handful of a pretty strong contingency. We're pushing more towards Horse's time. It just has to be up. And especially 2 months ago, since we lost that grand final against the Lions, it's so many more people across fan forums and everywhere on the corner of the internet. I see Horse's time just has to be done. So a lot more people were heading into that camp, and there you go. He knew, and that's just what I love about Horse. He's an honest guy. And good on him. Like, it's honestly a bit of bravery and a bit of courage as well, knowing your time is done. It would have been a very hard decision for him. Felt like he had another year left in the tank. That was my thought process. I thought he'd go for 1 more year, see out his contract, but no, he's going to be stepping down effective immediately. But this football club, it just needs a bit of change. It needs a bit of a fresh voice. And this is what happens when you've have a coach for the past 14 years. We now eventually the time has come. We do need someone new, and Dean Cox looks like a very good recipient. He's been assistant coach, I think, for about 7 or so years now, since 2017 roughly, and he's been working behind Horse oh so well. And how about some of the reactions this year? Horse is all quiet, calm, cool, collected, and then you've got Dean Cox celebrating up in the box. So yeah, I'm really keen to see what he'll offer, especially looking at the draft. It was actually a little bit evident too. We saw last week with the draft, Horse wasn't actually present. He wasn't in the draft rooms at all, where he usually is every single year. It was only Dean Cox. Looked like he was front and centre in all the action. Then when 𝐵𝐵𝐶𝐶 𝐸𝐺𝐸 was drafted, he was the one presenting him with a jumper, giving him a speech, giving him some great words. So he's really keen on these draftees, and I'm interested, was he part of some of the drafting process? I know the Swans drafted a lot more small players this year, didn't really elect to go with a key forward or anybody tall apart from 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐴𝐺𝐸 𝐴𝐵𝐿. Will we shift things up a little bit with our structure? We've been a 3 tall setup in the forward line for quite some time. Are we going to revert to maybe 2 talls and go with an extra small? Given how just the game has developed, it's a lot more focus on those small forwards and those high half forwards, and that's just how the game has shifted a little bit. So perhaps, given how we went in the grand final, we just looked too tall. Maybe do we shift things up a little bit? The press conference today, let's be honest, it was a pretty emotional one for all the Swans fans and neutral fans watching. Throughout pretty much all of Horse's speech, it looks like he was about to tear up nearly throughout the whole time. He was holding back tears. I'm assuming, I think he did say he let the waterworks go loose a little bit when he did announce it to the players. But he's done that before. Josh Kennedy, when he retired, that speech where we saw behind the scenes, he did tear up. Yeah, it was definitely emotional stuff. And look, were there any Swan supporters maybe tearing up? It certainly was an emotional press conference, thanking everybody, especially the supporters. And we hear this time and time again, just how proud the Inner Sanctum was of the support this year. It was outstanding, and just the crowds of the SCG. It was certainly great, and hearing the atmosphere live on TV too. And that was pretty much my main takeaways from the press conference. Just, yeah, really emotional, and a lot of reflection to come, I think, with Horse. And that word again, legacy, how it will be looked upon. You'd think the future would be a lot more kinder to him. It's just been unfortunate with the negatives and the lows he's had across his tenure, and eventually how he's finished things up. His last game's going to be a grand final thumping, another one it's going to be. But what I always admire about John Longmire is just his class that he carries himself with. He's always just such a well-spoken guy, and now he's been a key pillar in just regenerating our list and always being competitive and pushing into finals. And he touched up upon those points as well in his press conference, just how hard it is to make finals every year. And for us, it was just basically like an automatic process, especially the past few seasons. So, as I say again, just very grateful for what John Longmire has done to the Sydney Swans. He's been a huge part in our culture and building the game as well in New South Wales. Premiership coach, they've got to respect him for that matter. Yes, he'll leave a bit of a shadow of a legacy with those grand final defeats, but the class he's carried with himself is just admirable. He's an ultimate people's man, so I'm really glad he is staying at the club for a bit of a director role off the field. And the great relationships he's built with the players across the past 10 years or so, the past 20 years or so now, has certainly been a great thing to see as well. So yeah, just really grateful for what Horse has offered for the Sydney Swans with all the successes, and wish him all the best for the future, like he's watching this bloody video for Christ's sake. But you know what I mean, you know, just throw my thanks out there. But yeah, we did touch upon Dean Cox with maybe some structural changes next year, and what is next? It's just the ultimate unknown. Horse has been that guy that's provided such a strong basis of stability of our club, of on the field success, and he did touch upon that about on his press conference a little bit. That's why he's wanting to stay on for a bit of that off-field role next year. But am I scared a little bit? I really don't know. It's either going to be is it going to be like a continuation of this success with him, at least in that role, or is it going to be the end of it? Are we going to see maybe a little bit of a dip? Might be obviously a little bit biased given I am a Swan supporter, but certainly leaning more towards the side of I think it will be a continuation of it. Let's remember here, we might have gotten thumped, but we have a goddamn talented team. This is what's reflected upon so much, even in the press conference earlier today. This is probably one of the most talented Swans sides we've seen in the last 20 years. Just look across the park, so much talent left, right and centre. Yes, the team does have deficiencies, every side does, but we need to really find that extra gear. That's the ultimate thing come grand final. It was just a mental collapse once again, but there's nothing short of talent on our team, and we're certainly capable of pushing or at least maintaining our spot in finals next year. But there is still a bit of that unknown factor. How will Dean Cox go in his first year? I am glad he's getting offered a 4-year deal. Yes, it is sort of like untried, but a 4-year deal does offer him a bit more of that job security and stability. Gives him time to, you know, find his feet and maybe build the list to get it a little bit stronger. Because let's say if it was a 2-year deal, he'd sort of have a bit more pressure on needing to turn around and find success quickly. But with that extra 2 years, it does give him a bit of time, a bit of stability. So don't mind the 4-year call there. But yeah, it should be exciting times. We were all expecting this to happen, but for this to happen also suddenly, day 2 of preseason, it's just like, wow, it just blew me back. So I feel in the end, this just is the right decision. It just needed to be done eventually, sooner rather than later. That's pretty much what I've got to say, lads. Yeah, really touched upon the press conference today, and plenty of reflection, I think, for a lot of Swans fans to be had over the preseason, because yeah, we aren't used to this. This has been a very long time. The horse has been in the club, and finally there's going to be a fresh face, or not a fresh face, but a new face leading the coach's box. But yeah, I'm keen to see what Dean Cox really does offer, or have any structural changes. He's always been a pretty well-spoken guy with some press conferences he's had. I know he had one like the pre-season 2022 horse. I think had COVID one week and 2 years ago or something, and he had a press conference then. But I'm excited. I am excited and optimistic to see what is in store. But once again, John Longmire, what a football coach, and I think a lot of neutrals show utmost respect to him as well. He's been a fine football man, a fine relationships man, and just a people manager. He is just absolutely quality as well. So happy he is staying at the club, but he is stepping down as the Swans head coach. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment sections, lads. Yeah, it is a big day for the Sydney Swans, and I'm really keen to see how things fare next year. So thanks very much for tuning in, everybody. Get your thoughts down below, and until next time, I'll talk to you later. See you later, fellas.